We are at the Miami International Airport, Concourse D. Y'all know I'm not necessarily a fan of MIA. I fly from neighboring Fort Lauderdale whenever possible, but Concourse D is one of the nicer ones, I must say. It serves as a hub to American Airlines, and yes, this time I'm also traveling with my parents. Destination Toronto. We are airborne once again, and nope, we're not true nomads yet. We're still flying to places. We get a nice view of downtown Miami this time. Today, we are traveling to the great land of Canada. A few hours later, we land at the Toronto Pearson International Airport. We take a taxi to our hotel. We wake up at the Toronto Metropolitan Hotel. Many buildings around the city seem to have these rooftop gardens. Our hotel is impeccably located on Chestnut Street, a few blocks away from the PHILLIPS Square. You can barely see it from the room. We are walking on Dundas Street, looking for some breakfast. We walk the short distance. The circular structure to our left is a city hall, and we arrive to the square. The sundial sits at the Peace Garden, a memorial to the Hiroshima atomic bomb. City Hall is actually more like a double semicircle structure. We are at Phillips Square right here in Toronto. Behind me is the City Hall, and they're having some kind of festival today. Yes, it appears they're going to have some kind of Filipino festival later on. This reflecting pool is actually a skating rink during the winter, which I hear is most of the year in this latitude. The picturesque building with the clock tower is the old City Hall, which dates back to 1899. We walk along its side on Albert Street towards the Eaton Center. The Eaton Center is supposedly one of Toronto's main tourist attractions, with 330 stores and restaurants, but let's face it, besides the pretty glass roof, it's nothing more than an oversized shopping mall. Moving right along. We exit the Eaton Center and walk north on Yonge Street towards the Dundas Yonge Square in order to take the subway towards the harbor front, which is where we're going. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, Yonge Street is considered the longest one in the world, with over 1,000 miles. Yonge Dundas Square is Toronto's version of Times Square, if you will, with all the neon and LED signs. The subway line is undergoing construction, but they have this special bus line running along its route. We ride on the bus going south. We get off by Alan Lambert Galleria, which is part of the Brookfield Place office complex. It's often called the Crystal Cathedral of Commerce because of its unique architecture. It was designed by Spanish architect Santiago Calatrava. We are walking on the Alan Lambert Galleria towards Bay Street, and then we're gonna take the ferry to the Toronto Island. And yes, these Canadians have some cool garbage cans. They also have some great architecture in this city. We continue walking south towards the harbor front, under the railroad tracks. It is our intention to catch the ferry to the Toronto Islands from this Harbor Square Park. We arrive at the terminal. The round trip costs $7 for adults, with discounts for seniors and juniors. We are taking the Center Island Ferry. Along the way, we enjoy these great views of the Toronto skyline, which is really the main reason we took the ferry. We are riding on the ferry to Center Island, to Toronto Island. And we have arrived. The Toronto Islands are like an oasis in the big city, with this lush vegetation, the pollen floating around in the late spring. I must say, I'm impressed. I heard about it first in the Amateur Traveler podcast and then read about it on the Moon Guide to Ontario. But I must say, this is a really cool place. They have an amusement park, a duck pond, a farm, marina, even a beach. All kinds of activities for the family. Unfortunately, our time here is limited. After all, we only came here for the view, right? We cross over this tiny bridge onto Olympic Island for this other great view of the Toronto skyline, even with the swan. Feels like we ought to stay here all day, but we must get back on the ferry as other points of interest await us. We are now returning to Toronto. Toronto has a great public transit system. Besides the subways and the buses, they have an extensive network of these trolleys. We got off by the St. James Cathedral to change trolleys. We are going towards the Distillery District for lunch. The Distillery District was once home to the largest distillery in the world around the mid-1800s. Nowadays it's a historic site with many art galleries, restaurants and shops. We eat at the famous Mill Street Brewery. And they actually brew their own excellent beer. And we tried the Canadian delicacy, the poutine. It is basically French fries with cheese curds, gravy and meat, but it's amazingly delicious. Moving along, we walk towards the trolley stop to go back. They have these bicycles for rent all around the city. And our ride finally arrives. This morning we bought a 24-hour family pass, which is good for all forms of public transit. Very convenient and economic as well. We are back by the Eaton Centre and Yonge Dundas Square. There is some kind of protest going on about human rights in Iran. It is a very vibrant city center, as you can see. We take another trolley towards the hotel, which is only a couple of blocks away, but we don't feel like walking, and since we have the day pass, the ride is free. We are going to take a break and then go back out. Later in the day, we walk toward University Avenue. Here we take the subway that will get us near the CN Tower. One thing about Canadians, they are the nicest people in the world, but the ones we met had no sense of distance or directions. They went out of their way to walk with us and tell us where to go, but they didn't really know how to get there. Eventually, we did find the CN Tower using the iPhone. While we wait for the elevators, we get to see these informational videos about the CN Tower.
Okay, welcome to the CN Tower. Your views are going to be in front, the side, and underneath your feet as well once we get going. We're going to be traveling at a speed of 22 kilometers per hour or 15 miles per hour, taking us just 58 seconds to get to the observation level. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me.
Then I walk across the glass floor of the CN. Oh my God! This is really scary. We hang out at the main pod, which is at an altitude of 342 meters or 1,122 feet. We have finally made it to the sky pod. The sky pod is the highest point you can go in this CN Tower here in Toronto. As you can see, we are really high. The sky pod sits at a staggering 446 meters or 1,465 feet. On a clear day, you can see Niagara on the other side of the lake. The CN Tower held the record for the tallest freestanding structure for over 30 years until Dubai's Burj Khalifa surpassed it in 2007. As night falls, the lights are turned on and it's almost time for us to go. Now I'm green. We're saying goodbye to the CN Tower. Come on, change color. I want to see myself change color. I'm gonna change. And now, I don't know what color I am. Down we go. And with that, we turn in for the night. We have a long day ahead of us tomorrow. In the morning, we go back to the Eaton Center to pick up our rental car from the thrifty office, which apparently doesn't open until 10. Since we have an hour to kill, we decide to walk around a little bit. In Canada, they have these really cool mailboxes. We pass by the Metropolitan United Church. We also find out why the city looks so clean all the time. We also pass by this Canine Gourmet Festival on the way to the St. Lawrence Market, which unfortunately is closed on Sunday. We see the St. James Cathedral one more time. and an entrance to the famous Path underground city. And once again, we passed by the old City Hall on the way back to a deserted Eaton Center. Guess what? Our car is ready. We go pick up my parents at the Metropolitan Hotel and we depart on our red Dodge Caliber. Not my favorite vehicle in the world, let me tell you, but that's what they consider full-size, I guess. Not an outstanding product, let me tell you. We turn left or west on Dundas Street towards Chinatown. To our left, this building is the Art Gallery of Ontario with its newly constructed facade. We continue west on Dundas Street into the heart of Chinatown, which dates back to the 19th century and is one of the largest ones in North America and one of the several Chinatowns in the city. We are by the corner of Spadina and Dundas. If we were to continue northwest, we would encounter the Kensington Market, which is a very interesting neighborhood, but we will save that for another trip. Right now, we are driving towards CASA LOMA. We drive north on Spadina Avenue, crossing the College Street. The Knox College is the building in the middle of the traffic circle, and it houses the offices for the University of Toronto. The actual university is to our right. Let's make sure the camera is on, shall we? Yes, it is, obviously. After Bloor Street, Spadina Avenue turns into Spadina Road. This neighborhood is called the Annex, and it's an upper middle class neighborhood. Very nice. We turn left into McPherson Avenue and right on Kendall. And we finally arrive at Casa Loma. Casa Loma is Spanish for Hill House. The building was constructed in 1914 as a Gothic Revival style house. Originally, the residence of Sir Henry Mill Pellet, a famous Canadian dude, famous mainly for this house and for bringing hydroelectric power to Toronto. This is one of Toronto's most popular tourist attractions. We don't have time to go inside though, because today we are going to Niagara Falls, a much more coveted attraction if you ask me. And time is of the essence. So with that, we are going to say goodbye to Toronto for now. We drive from Toronto to Niagara Falls, about an hour and a half on the Queen Elizabeth Way. We pass by the famous RAVINE winery for lunch. Very yummy. Shortly after we arrive, driving along the Niagara Parkway. Look at all the tourists in the area. We even drive under the mist at some point, and it almost looks like it's raining. Eventually, we find a parking lot nearby. We walk along this very nice park towards the famous waterfalls. We are approaching the Horseshoe Falls from behind. As we walk along, we get hit by heavy mist, which forces me to use the waterproof enclosure.
We are at the Niagara Falls, as you can see. There's a lot of mist behind us, that's why I'm using the GoPro. Look at that.
In the distance, we see the Rainbow Bridge, which connects the USA with Canada. In the foreground, two beautiful rainbows. I don't really have a whole lot to say here, so let's just admire the natural beauty of this wonder of the world. Once again, to the right, the Canadian Horseshoe Falls, with the Maid of the Mist boat underneath. And to the left, the American Falls and the Rainbow Bridge. We walk towards the American side. And we get this spectacular view of the American Falls with the smaller Bridal Veil Falls to the right. And now for the highlight of our visit, we're going to board the Maid of the Mist boat, which will take us right up to the falls.
We will now proceed to board the Lady of the Mist boat to get soaked on the
I really feel sorry for those cameras. They are going to get ruined. The American Falls and the Rainbow Bridge behind. They have this ride on the American side where you can walk behind the falls. Next time I come, I really want to do that. And now for the climax.
approaching Niagara Falls, the Canadian side, the Horseshoe.
Yeah, we're getting really wet now. This is the most fun part of the tour and definitely the highlight of our visit to Niagara Falls.
We're soaked.
But all good things come to an end, and after a few minutes, we return. The foam kinda looks like feta cheese, doesn't it? After our wet Niagara adventure, we enjoy a cold beer at this cafe with a view, and what a view that is. I think we've had enough fun for one day, so let's enjoy one last panoramic view from the Skylon Tower. From up here we get a great view of both the American and the Canadian Horseshoe Falls. And we can see there's a line of vehicles at the border between the United States and Canada. Finally, they do have some live entertainment outdoors.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Stick around. We got a little bit of music for you, and then some fireworks just later on. We're the Mad Hatters.
We end the night passing by Niagara on the lake, on our way back to Toronto. Dinner was great. We had the poutine, of course. But the highlight of the evening is this amazing view of the Toronto skyline from across Lake Ontario. We are back in Toronto on this rainy, misty morning, but not for long. It is our intention to begin driving east towards Kingston, Gananoque, and the famous 1,000 Islands of the St. Lawrence River. So, let's hop on our red car and hit the road, shall we? We are going to the 1,000 Islands. The quality, the enjoyment of your trip is highly determined by the quality of the weather. And on this particular occasion, Mother Nature doesn't really want to cooperate. The drive is nearly 3 hours, and the weather doesn't let up much. But we make a quick stop halfway near Trenton. We decide to take a secondary road to see some of the countryside. Now crossing downtown Trenton. There is a Canadian Air Force base nearby, hence the military plane landing. We drive through this trailer park, probably military housing, in order to see the river and the USA on the other side, but there's really not much to see here. So let's continue. And another military plane lands. The Air Force base to our left. We also pass by the town of Belleville, and eventually we reach our destination. Eventually we arrive at Gananoque, where we will board a boat for a tour of the 1,000 Islands, and our boat arrives soon enough. The 1,000 Islands is an archipelago in this wide area of the St. Lawrence River, northeast of Lake Ontario. It is, to be exact, 1,864 islands. The river is the border between the United States and Canada, so some of the islands are part of either country. Actually, for it to be considered an island here, it must be above water all year round, have an area of more than 1 square foot, really, just 1 square foot, and have at least 1 living tree. So that's so much more reasonable. Anyway, today we are visiting a small part of the archipelago, mostly on the Canadian side of the river, near the town of Gananoque. One curious fact is that the 1,000 Island dressing was invented around here. According to the Book of Knowledge, at the turn of the 20th century, some lady called Sophie Lalonde, who lived in Clayton, New York, served this type of salad dressing to her guests. Apparently, the vegetables in the dressing looked like the islands, and eventually the actress Mary Irwin and Waldorf Astoria's manager George Bolt popularized the name. Obviously, some of the islands fall under US jurisdiction, while the others are Canadian. The agreement in 1793 was that no island would be split in two within 100 yards of either shore, so the official border zigzags the area. Many rich and famous people have homes in these islands. I find it particularly interesting, all the small houses barely covering the surface of an island. Must be pretty cool and interesting owning property here for the 400 or so permanent residents of the area. My parents visited this place 10 years ago, back in 2003, and they took another tour, which leaves from Rockport. That's the northeastern part of the 1,000 Islands and arguably the more famous one. Let's go back in time with them. Here they got to see the Savicon Islands, which allegedly have the smallest international bridge in the world, but it's not really true. The actual border is actually 140 meters to the southeast. So don't believe everything the tour guide says. They also got to see the Bold Castle on Hart Island. The castle was originally built in 1900, but abandoned in 1904 after the death of the owner's wife, which was George Bolt of the Waldorf Astoria. It was left in ruins until 1977, when it became a tourist attraction. Off we go! Destination Ottawa, Canada's capital. Before heading north, however, we are going to pass by the historic town of Kingston. Kingston was the first capital of Canada for a very short period of time, and it was originally settled as Fort Frontenac. British loyalists called it Kingstown in honor of King George III, and eventually the name was shortened to Kingston. It is a very historic city, mainly thanks to its strategic location. It's right on the spot where Lake Ontario spills into the St. Lawrence River. It is also in very close proximity to the border with the United States. The RIDEAU Canal also originates here, which goes all the way north through many locks to the Ottawa River. It was our original idea to eat here in Kingston, but it's around 6 p.m. and we decide to continue on to Ottawa non-stop. After a little over 2 hours, we arrive at Ottawa. Our hotel, the Capitol Hill, on Albert Street. We wake up to this rainy morning. My parents got the balcony, and we got this great view of the office next door and this guy who we have aptly named Captain Picard.
Captain Picard.
It is an old hotel, but boy is it well located, a mere 2 blocks away from Parliament Hill. First thing in the morning we've bought umbrellas because it looks like the weather is not going to cooperate. We pass by this Spark Street, which is pedestrian only, and right there is the Parliament Hill. There's a bit of construction going on. Here's the Centennial Flame, which commemorates the 100th anniversary of the Canadian Confederation. The building is Centre Block, the main building of the Canadian Parliament, and the Peace Tower. We go inside the building and take the elevator to the top. The view is spectacular, even on this rainy day. We see the Notre-Dame Cathedral, the American Embassy, and the Chateau Laurier, and the Museum of Civilization on the other side of the Ottawa River. Going back down, we see the Bell's Carillon, which is used to play melodies on special occasions. We also visit the Memorial Chamber. There are several books of remembrance, which list the names of the Canadian soldiers who died in the many world wars. Time to go down. We are going back out under a pretty heavy downpour. The tourists, they don't seem to mind much. Nor do we. Umbrellas everywhere. We pass once again by the Centennial Flame. We're going back to the hotel to pick up my parents and Brian so we can get them some umbrellas and continue exploring. We walk a little bit on Spark Street under the rain. We see a statue of Terry Fox, a famous Canadian amputee athlete. And we are back by Parliament Hill. This statue belongs to Henry Albert Harper, a notorious Canadian journalist and public servant.
¿Qué cosa, Robin?
la orilla, vamos después ahora.
Ah, bueno, los 4 jinetes del apocalipsis.
On the side of Central Hall, there's a statue of Queen Elizabeth II on horseback. I guess the Canadian birds don't really care much for Her Majesty. We walk along all the statues, which are behind the Parliament building by the river. The Ottawa River divides the city into Ottawa, in the province of Ontario, and Gatineau, in the Quebec province. Quebec is also known as French Canada. Is it Quebec or Quebec? I don't know. We are on the Ottawa side, on the Ontario side. This round structure is the library, which luckily was the only surviving building from the fire of 1916, which, by the way, consumed the entire center block. The rain is too much for my parents, so they're gonna stay at the hotel, and we continue on our own. We walk to the Canadian tomb of the unknown soldier. It holds the remains of an unidentified Canadian soldier who died in France during World War I. One cool thing about Ottawa is that they have guides waiting around all these monuments to give you information. I think it's a great idea, and I guess that's their solution to unemployment. Next, we pass by the RIDEAU Canal, which has this system of locks to compensate for the difference in water levels. There is a small boat coming up, so we get to see how it works. First, they close the locks behind the boat. Then they fill up this water compartment with water from the next compartment coming up until the water levels are equalized. Then they open the next lock and off we go to do it all over again. Pretty cool. This ancient canal is the oldest one in North America, dating back to 1832. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. All this mechanism is still operated by hand. It was our original intention to take this boat tour of the canal, but there was no one else, probably because of the bad weather, so they canceled the tour. It is disappointing, but what can you do? Here's the famous Chateau Laurier, which we will visit later. But we are getting kind of hungry, so we pass by the BYWARD market, which is this area around the original market building with farmer markets, cafes, boutiques, restaurants, pubs. They have these stalls selling all kinds of goods. This one specialized in stuff made with maple syrup. This is a famous maple syrup candy in Ottawa. Cheers. And now it is time to try the beaver tail. It's a beaver tail. Yeah, I did burn my tongue back there, but it was good. The beaver tail is a fried pastry topped with different condiments, which originated right here in Ottawa. Next, we go inside the market to see what they have. The highlight, apparently, is the Obama cookies. These people love Obama. Apparently, he caused a sensation here when he visited Ottawa, ate a beaver tail, and, well, the rest is history. They have all kinds of pastries and tasty-looking food, but it looks like we are past the lunch hour rush, so we decide to continue exploring. Besides, we are already kind of full from the maple syrup treat and the beaver tail. We end up having some wine and Quebec cheeses at this place called Vineyards. Very nice. We see the Notre-Dame Cathedral as we continue walking around this pretty neighborhood. We encountered the famous sculpture MAMAN by Louis Bourgeois, which belongs to the National Gallery of Canada. Behind it, we see the Notre-Dame Cathedral Basilica. The steeples are covered in tin, which I hear is typical of French-Canadian churches. As I said before, the sculpture belongs to the National Gallery, which we can see in the background. National Gallery of Canada. This ugly building is the United States Embassy, located on Mackenzie Avenue. Maybe we should hire better architects. I'm just saying. We pass once again by the famous Chateau Laurier, which is a hotel built in the early 20th century. The interior, while pretty and very tasteful and classy, it's really nothing to write home about. We head back to our hotel. We've been walking all day under the rain and we are tired, so we're gonna call our night. In the morning, we take out the car and decide to drive around Ottawa a little bit before leaving. It is such a beautiful day. We wish we'd had this kind of weather yesterday, but c'est la vie. We drive on Albert Street, make a right on Kent, and then another right on Wellington Street, so we can take one last look at Parliament Hill. There are some people on strike, don't know why. And there it is, the center hall with the Peace Tower. In front of us, the Chateau Laurier. We make a left in order to take the bridge across the river. To our left, the back of the American Embassy, and to our right, the Notre-Dame Cathedral. We see the National Gallery again as we turn left one more time. We cross the Ottawa River, and as we do that, we are now in the province of Quebec, or Quebec in French, at the Museum of Civilization to our left. Let's have a look, shall we? First, we are treated to this great view of Parliament Hill and downtown Ottawa on the other side of the river. The museum was designed by Canadian Aboriginal architect Douglas Cardinal. The curvilinear design reflects the landscape around it, and everything in the building symbolizes a feature of the land before civilization took over. They have also this Japanese Zen garden. Very nice, very peaceful.
September 22, 1995.
The cascading fountain perhaps evokes the RIDEAU canal, but I don't know. Well, it's almost time to go. Let's go inside for 1 second to take care of business and see the Grand Hall. And off we go towards Montreal. Oh, Montreal. What a great city. So much to see and so little time. Montreal is the largest city in the province of Quebec, the second largest in Canada after Toronto. Originally called Ville Marie or City of Mary, it derives its modern name from Montreal in modern French. We arrive around noon at our hotel, the Best Western Plus Hotel Europa, very well located on Drummond Street, between Boulevard Rennes-Ladesque and Rue Sainte-Catherine. Only one of our rooms is ready and the other one's not, so we drop our bags and continue towards the Olympic Stadium and the BYWARD. We will visit these sites first because we are basically homeless. And tomorrow we will hit Old Montreal, downtown, and the many things in between. The Olympic Stadium was the main venue of the Montreal 1976 Summer Olympics, which almost bankrupted the city. The stadium was an engineering nightmare, mainly because of its malfunctioning retractable roof, and it took the city 30 years to pay it off. We drive on Sherbrooke Street towards this important landmark, and we arrive. We take this funicular to the top of the Montreal Tower, the world's tallest inclined tower. It's part of the retractable roof mechanism that never quite worked. The cables attached to this tower pulled the roof up, but unfortunately, that doesn't work anymore. Even though the tower is almost 10 kilometers away from downtown, it still offers great views of the city, as we can see. They have panels above explaining what we are looking at, and there's the BYWARD below, which we will visit next. We see Montreal and the Olympic Stadium below, and the Place Ville Marie, the tall building in the middle of downtown, the St. Joseph Oratory, the St. Lawrence River. Nice views, but nothing spectacular. Perhaps we're spoiled, I don't know. They also have these models of the Olympic Stadium. Right next door we have the Biodome de Montréal. Originally a velodrome for the Olympic Games, it is now an artificial environment where we can see the fauna and flora of 4 different climates in the Americas. We begin with the tropical forest ecosystem.
We are right now at the Biodome in Montreal, Canada. And as you can see, we're in the tropical zone. As you can see, it's really hot and really humid. I'm sweating profusely. But now we're hopefully going to another latitude.
This ecosystem reminds us very much of our own Miami climate, as it is hot and muggy, extremely humid. But before we jump into more comfortable latitudes, let's explore a little bit. We see the world's largest rodent. And monkeys. How can you go wrong with monkeys? And parrots. And waterfalls. And weird ugly fish. Neon frogs, a condor, alligators. They even have a bat cave. Luckily, the next section will be much more comfortable climate-wise, and soon enough we arrive at the Laurentian Maple Forest. We get to see all kinds of fish and a porcupine. They also have the beavers. Very cool little animals. And of course, the majestic Canada lynx. There's also the marine ecosystem. Very cool. And finally, penguins. This place is really cool, but we must go on as we rush through the fossil exhibit. We are hungry, so we go down to this pedestrian area called the Rue Prince Arthur, which we've heard is great for dining, and here we are. After much deliberation, we decided to have lunch at this Greek place called La Taverne Grecque. Our timing is impeccable as always, as we arrive when the place is completely dead. The food is excellent, of course, although not what I would think as typical Greek food. It is around 6 p.m., perhaps a little too early for dinner, as the area starts to get crowded when we are about to leave. Walking around, we encountered this Colombian place and decided to have some coffee. It's some kind of hippie art gallery, but the espresso is great and very nice folks as well. We continue roaming around the Rue Prince Arthur. The street ends at St. Louis Square with all these picturesque and colorful houses. Right now we're going to visit the St. Joseph Oratory on Montreal. It is a Roman Catholic minor basilica and Canada's largest church. Who knew? There is also a pretty nice view towards the north from top of the stairs. Nearby they have also this lookout on Montreal where we can see the Olympic Stadium and the eastern part of the city, surrounded by all these friendly scavenging raccoons. Aren't they lovely? We are exhausted, but decide to end the night by watching a hockey game. How Canadian of us. At the Marriott, next door to our hotel, drinking Cuban rum, illegal in the US. Oh, Montreal. Good night. Good morning, Montreal. We have breakfast at this place next to the hotel called Chef Cora, which was great. We walk towards the Lucien Lallier subway station, just a couple of blocks away, to take the train towards the old Montreal area. We get off at Place d'Armes. The station is right next to the small Montreal Chinatown. We walk along Rue de la Goucheture, exploring a little bit. We buy some tea and browse for some souvenirs. This is the building where the metro station is located, and like in Toronto, they have all these bicycles for rent. Moving along, let's head towards Place d'Armes, where the famous Notre-Dame Basilica is located. Very touristy with horse-drawn carriages and everything. And this person almost lost her carriage and her horse. The horse went loose. Alright, let's get back in line now. The fleur de lis is the symbol of the province of Quebec, as we can see it here in the granite pavers. The Notre-Dame Basilica is a Gothic revival church completed in 1830. The Pantheon-like building is the head office of the Bank of Montreal. As in many major touristy squares, there are street musicians. These ones are very nice. Let's go inside the church, but before, let's have one more view of the Place d'Armes and the ALDRED building, the first Art Deco skyscraper in Montreal. The interior of the basilica is beautiful, grand and colorful, with its unconventional blue and gold ceiling. There are these wooden statues of Ezekiel and Jeremiah, as well as hundreds of intricate wooden carvings. Very nice. The unconventional stained glass windows depict scenes from the religious history of Montreal, as opposed to the classic biblical scenes, so it's kind of unconventional, as I said. The pipe organ dates back to 1891, with 4 keyboards, 92 electro-pneumatic stops, 7,000 pipes, and a pedal board. We continue walking along the cobblestone streets of the old city. We stumble upon the Place Royale, the site of the first settlement in Montreal by the old port, and there's a train passing by. Across the river, we see Habitat 67. This architectural marvel was constructed as part of Expo 67, reflecting a futuristic concept of affordable housing. Ironically, it's one of the most exclusive pieces of real estate in the city. Here's looking back at Notre-Dame and the ALDRED building. This park runs along the Old Port Promenade, a great place to hang out in these early days of summer. We go back up to Rue Saint-Paul, the main drag of Old Montreal. There are many shops and restaurants and pubs, and the tourists are coming out in droves. Eventually, we stumble upon Place Jacques-Cartier, a very touristy, lined with hotels, restaurants, cafes, street artists. It slopes down to the St. Lawrence River. At the top, we see Nelson's column, dedicated to the admiral who defeated Napoleon. He faces away from the river due to his seasickness. Go figure. At the top, we also see the Hotel de Ville, City Hall, where French President Charles de Gaulle shouted in 1967, "Vive la Quebec libre!" fanning up all the flames of bilingual unrest. Next, we pass by historic Marche Bonsecours. I don't know exactly what I was expecting to see inside, but it wasn't a shopping mall.
And the crab house.
Next, we visit Notre-Dame de Bonsecours Chapel, dedicated to Virgin Mary, Our Lady of Perpetual Help. The ship hanging from the roof is an offering to the Virgin by sailors to express gratitude for safe passage. Even to this day, descendants of those who sailed gather here every year to pay thanks. Next, we go down to the crypt, an archaeological site with treasures discovered as recently as 1996, while excavating the original site of the chapel which burned down. I am able to take a few seconds of video, but they tell me photography is forbidden, so oh well. Up we go, the 69 steps to the tower and a few more to the Belvedere.
We still have to go all the way up there.
We get a very nice view of the old port from here, with the clock tower inside. The spherical structure in the distance is the biosphere, not to be confused with the biodome. The transparent acrylic panels burned in a fire in 1976. The structure nowadays houses the Environmental Museum. It turns what I thought was the Belvedere is actually the bell tower, so it's a pretty nice view anyways. We got a pretty good view anyway of the Habitat 66 from up here as well, so let's go back down. Yep, we were up there just a few minutes ago. Next, we walk towards the clock tower. Located on the clock tower quay, it also served as a lighthouse, and it marks the entry to the port of Montreal.
It's 192 steps all the way up. You can count them.
The clock face, which looks out over 4 directions, was built in London, and it's a replica of the Big Ben. As I go up the stairs, I can see some of the clock mechanism, and the views from the top are pretty good. Here we can see the clock tower quay and downtown and the big cross on top of Montreal. Actually, I think I forgot I was taking video because the best shot was taken with the still photography camera. Go figure. Here are my travel companions who didn't feel like climbing the 192 steps, but then again, who would have taken these nice pictures of me at the top? Okay, time to go down. Here we see once again the clock mechanism as I descend down the spiral staircase. Next, we go back near the Notre-Dame de Bon Secours Chapel in order to take the bus. We are going to the Latin Quarter, traveling on Saint-Denis Street. Here they are having some kind of festival. This is the center of Montreal Francophone culture, with the UQAM, the Université du Québec en Montréal, at the center of it all. We walk around this lively neighborhood looking for somewhere to eat, and the options are plenty. We are definitely in the French part of town. Everybody's speaking French. We finally decide on this place called Les Trois Brasseurs, the Three Brewers. It's a restaurant and brewery, and we have the obligatory poutine, of course. They even have a breathalyzer on site, pretty unique. We continue walking on Rue Sainte-Catherine East, crossing Boulevard Saint-Laurent, which is also called the Main. And lo and behold, they are having another festival. But this one is not just any festival, it's the Francophonie de Montréal. No wonder they have this big bicycle parking lot. You can hear the music from blocks away. The Francophonie is the biggest music festival in the French-speaking world since 1989, with over 1,000 performers and hundreds of thousands of attendees. And we found it by chance. We didn't really do our research on this one, and it's a real treat to attend one of its many free concerts. I don't even know the name of the person singing, but the energy is great, and the crowd seems to be having a good time. Another thing to take note of for the next time we visit Montreal, all these festivals. We continue walking on Rue Sainte-Catherine towards our hotel. All of a sudden, to our right, the St. James United Church, originally the largest Methodist church in Canada. And we are back by downtown. The tall building, Place Ville-Marie, Montreal's most famous skyscraper. At the time of its construction in 1967, it was the world's largest and most complex office building, and it is the starting point of the mythical and complicated underground city. We continue walking on Rennes-Lavesque Street, passing by the Basilica Marie Reine du Monde, a small-scale replica of the Vatican's St. Peter Cathedral. Passing by Dorchester Square, we return to Rue Sainte-Catherine, and they are having some kind of protest. Don't really know what this is all about. They've got the guns, but we got the numbers. Interesting. We take a short break at the hotel, and even though we are exhausted, we decide to walk around a little more. It was the original plan to go back to the Francophonie festival, and our minds and spirit say one thing, but our bodies refuse to comply. I guess we are not 20 anymore. We content ourselves with walking along Dorchester Square. The Boer War Memorial is the only equestrian statue in the city of Montreal. As we continue walking on McGill College Avenue towards the McGill College, we encounter the illuminated crowd sculpture, going from illumination to hope, involvement, hilarity, irritation, fear, illness, violence, murder, and death. A range of emotions showing the fragile nature of humanity. I'd rather be with the illuminated ones. We continue, the Montreal Cross visible from where we are, as we arrive at the McGill University, named after prominent Montreal merchant James McGill from Glasgow, Scotland. It is one of the oldest universities in Canada. Although officially bilingual, it's predominantly Anglophone. After many years of unrest, still only about 18% of the student population is Francophone. We continue walking around the streets at dusk. Running on fumes, really. We are exhausted. But it is our last night in Montreal and we want to absorb as much as we can. Here's the illuminated crowd now, no pun intended, properly illuminated. We discover an entrance to the almost deserted underground city and explore it a little bit and almost get lost in it. We emerge at the Place Ville-Marie. The fountain at the foot of the impressive skyscraper. Exhausted, we go back to the hotel. In the morning, we wake up and taking advantage of our 24-hour Le Casino transport pass, we take the metro once again. We emerge at this residential neighborhood called Mile End in Le Plateau Montreal to have breakfast at this famous bagel place called Saint-Viateur. Let's just say that I wasn't all that impressed, but perhaps my expectations were too high. I mean, it wasn't bad, it was a good bagel, I'm just not a bagel person. The experience of exploring this not-so-touristy neighborhood is great, though. I love it. Our last point of interest is this viewpoint atop Montreal, which involves a little over a quarter-mile walk from the parking lot through this luscious forest. It offers commanding views of the city. Well, time to say goodbye to Montreal as we head northeast into the heart of French Canada, Quebec City. Halfway through, we take the scenic route along the Chemin du Roi. However, I had a camera malfunction, so all we have are these few views of the town of Sainte-Anne-de-la-Parade. We arrive at Quebec City in the early afternoon after driving for over 3 hours from Montreal. Our hotel, the Chateau Laurier, very well located. Next to the hotel is the Grand Isle, often called the Champs-Élysées of Quebec City. Lined with Victorian mansions, it is the epicenter of the city's nightlife. We are hungry, so we have a late lunch at this place we've chosen at random, called L'Atelier. The pulled pork poutine and the Quebecois wine were spectacular. We walk towards the old city. Our hotel, as I mentioned, is impeccably located right next to Quebec City Armory, which unfortunately was partially destroyed in a fire back in 2006. As you can see, we are just a few blocks away from Les Fortifications, the old city walls. As we walk along, we pass by the Parliament building, home to the Parliament of Quebec, inspired by the Louvre in Paris, the Fontaine de Tournai, originally built in France in 1854. Let's walk through the St. Louis Gate under the city walls into St. Louis Street, which takes us into the historic heart of the city. Quebec City is the only fortified city left in North America. It is often called America's most European city, and I can see why. I mean, look around, look at this street, and we're just scratching the surface here. The white building with the red roof is Ancien Canadien, the quintessential French-Canadian restaurant, and which we'll visit later, of course. The French Embassy at the heart of town. We finally arrive to the Terrasse du Ferune, where we can admire the most photographed hotel in the world, and pretty much a symbol of Quebec City, the Chateau Frontenac. This is the newly repaired statue of Samuel de Champlain, who was a French explorer and the founder of New France and Quebec City. The whole historic district is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Old Quebec is divided into the upper and lower city, and right now we are in the upper part of town. We continue walking around, and as you can see, it feels very much like you are in Europe, with the outdoor cafes and the street musicians. It is such a beautiful afternoon, perfect weather, the Holy Trinity Cathedral. This tall building is Edifice Prise, the only skyscraper in Old Quebec. City Hall, or should I say Hôtel de Ville. And here's the Notre-Dame de Quebec, which stands on the site of the city's first chapel. Right next to it, the entrance to the Université Laval, which we are going to circumnavigate now, if you will. We start by walking on the side of the Notre-Dame on Rue de Bod. We encountered this building, which we found out is the post office. Walking around the Montmorency Park, we get a few glimpses of the lower city, with the Place Royale first and the St. Lawrence River in the distance. This mural is called Les Fresques du Québécois. The Université Laval was originally the Seminary of Quebec, established by the first bishop of New France to train young men for the priesthood. Today it is both university and seminary, and the site of the School of Architecture. As we continue walking along, we spot Rue sous le Cap, the street beneath the cape, which is somewhat hidden between the cliff and the backs of the Rue Saint-Paul houses. Unique, with its stairs and walkways, it used to be the city's red light district at one point in the past. We continue walking along the side of Laval University, this time by the School of Music, walking the steep grade towards a square wedged between the City Hall and Notre-Dame. There are some street performers doing their thing, doing some kind of stunt, so let's watch.
Okay, Isabella. Thank you very much. Now the other one. Merci beaucoup. Please give her a hand. Clap, clap, clap. Vous êtes capables? Ok, les gars, ils vont pour de vrai.
Next, we go down to the lower city, down these stairs and this steep street called the Côte de la Montagne. And more stairs. This is the Escalier Cascou. This area is called the Quartier de Petit Champlain, and its main drag, Rue de Petit Champlain. Cobblestone streets, restaurants, shops, and tourists. Lots of tourists. I need a beer. This mural is La Fresque de Petit Champlain, located where Petit Champlain merges with Boulevard Champlain. We continue roaming the streets of the old lower city, and what a view of the Chateau Frontenac. And this is La Fresque de Québécois once again, which depicts the city's history and its many historical figures. We take the funicular back to the upper city. There will be more time to explore tomorrow. This funicular, by the way, it is pretty historic too. It is the only one of its kind in North America. It was built in 1879, originally wooden and steam-powered. It was electrified in 1907 and then rebuilt in metal after it caught fire in 1945. At the top, we are once again by the statue of Samuel de Champlain, the city founder, and the Edifice Prise, the Art Deco skyscraper somewhat reminiscent of the Empire State Building. And the Chateau Frontenac, commanding the scene. And the wide boardwalk of the Terrasse Dufferin, created in 1879 by Lord Dufferin, Canada's governor at the time. We pass by the main entrance to the hotel. Did I mention it is the most photographed one in the world? We also stumble upon the US consulate. Good night for now. We wake up on the next day, eager to continue exploring, and we find out that today they are having a bicycle race. Once again, we approach the old city. We walk along the Rue Saint-Louis and pass by the Place d'Armes. I think we've seen that statue before. We take the funicular down to the lower city, as it is our intention to take the ferry to the other side of the river. Once again, we enjoy the charm of the Quartier Petit Champlain and a great view of the Chateau Frontenac. The ferry crosses the river to the neighboring city of Lévis, although the main reason we're taking the ferry is for the views. There's not a whole lot to see on the other side, so we return. And the bicycle race is going full throttle. We have lunch at the Bistro Sous le Fort, which is very nice, very cozy inside. Great food. And may I recommend the brie cheese flavored with rum, maple syrup, and topped with pecans. Yum, 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 yum. Moving along, we've been to this area already, so let's go back to the upper city. They are having some kind of comedic act. I don't get it. Not my type of humor. And the race goes on. We go inside the Chateau Frontenac for one of the best martinis ever. The ambience had a lot to do with it too, but the martini was great, and beautiful hotel, by the way. Come on! More racing. We discover this hidden park on Montreal. It's the Parc du Cavalier du Moulin, hidden from the crowds of tourists. It is the site of an old windmill, and we pass by this residential area too. Not sure if we're trespassing. We go back to the hotel, and the bicycle race has finally ended, apparently.
And we're back. The race is over.
Next, we go to the top floor of the Observatoire de la Capitale. Besides the great 360-degree views of the city, there is also a historic museum with old photographs, very interesting in a 1960s kind of style. From up here we can also see the Grand Dalle and our hotel. The Fontaine de Tournai is apparently a popular spot for wedding photos. And guess what? We're going back one more time. This time, however, we are exploring Les Fortifications, the city walls. We don't really take the tour since we prefer to explore on our own and enjoy the sights.
This doesn't work. Plains of Abraham. There's a big concert coming up next month. We're gonna miss it.
The Plains of Abraham was the site of the battle where the French lost to the British. This determined the fate of Canada and forever changed the course of North American history. We arrived by the river and begin walking on this boardwalk and going down these stairs that I suspect will eventually lead us to the Terrasse de Forêt. And I was right. Here it is. And great views of the river and our famous hotel. Yeah. Tonight we are having dinner at Ascension Canadien, a very well recommended Quebecois restaurant. As I said before, we had a pretty good wine and the pea soup, and we had the bison bourguignon style with poutine and the maple syrup creme brulee, and topped it off with a glass of calvados. Life is good. Santé. We end the night by taking a horse-drawn carriage tour of the city. The tour is very informative, and we got a very friendly and knowledgeable guide. The locals refer to this government building as the RIDEAU. See the resemblance? We also pass by the Plains of Abraham, and we learn about the wild party coming up at the end of June. It officially commemorates Canada Day, but the Quebecois also celebrate La Fête Nationale on Saint Jean Baptiste Day. We also learn how one side of the street was destroyed by cannon fire during the war, so they had to rebuild it. And whoops, looks like they forgot one cannonball, and the tree grew around it. Nice to see the city at night from the comfort of our carriage. We passed once again by Ascension Canadien, where we had such a delicious dinner just an hour ago, and by the French embassy. We end our last night in Canada by taking a stroll along the Grand Isle, the epicenter of the city's nightlife. And it is bustling with activity, even though we've heard that Quebec City is not really famous for its nightlife. We passed once again by L'Atelier, where we had lunch yesterday. There's also a bunch of guys cruising on cars with hydraulics. Pretty cool.
Hydraulics.
Mira bien pala.
Time to go back to the hotel. Good night. Well, I hope you have enjoyed our Canadian journey. This is the last video of the year, so I'd like to wish all of you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a very prosperous 2014. Hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss anything in the future. The music for all the Canada videos is now available in iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, and most other places where music can be heard. And once again, Happy New Year, thank you for watching, and see you on the road.